It was a rainy Thursday afternoon in Manhattan. The streets were jammed, horns blaring, people rushing, but Emma weaved through the chaos on her red electric scooter. She was soaked from the drizzle, wearing a windbreaker and a helmet that had clearly seen better days. A paper bag with 2 burgers sat tightly strapped in her delivery bag. Her next stop, TitanTech headquarters, one of the most high-profile tech firms in the country. Emma had no idea what was happening inside those walls, but as she parked her scooter and jogged into the building, she noticed something strange. Tension. The security guard looked pale. Employees were pacing, whispering, eyes wide with panic. She assumed maybe someone important had died, or there was a fire drill. Little did she know, the company was under one of the most severe cyber attacks in its history, and nobody had a clue how to fix it. At the front desk, Emma placed the warm food bag on the counter and smiled. "Delivery for Mr. Rowland, CEO." The receptionist didn't even glance at her. Her eyes were glued to a monitor. "He can't come out," she said, voice tight. "There's a situation. Leave it here." Emma, confused, leaned forward slightly. "Is he okay?" "It's a big order. 2 Wagyu burgers and truffle fries. Said it was urgent." The receptionist snapped her eyes at her. "You don't get it. The company's entire server is being held hostage. We're under a live ransomware attack. Everything's locked. Payroll, client data, even our internal comms." Emma blinked. "Oh." Before the woman could say more, the conference room doors behind her swung open. A stressed-looking executive walked out, followed by a flurry of IT specialists and assistants. Their faces were filled with panic and frustration. One man muttered, "This makes no sense. Every trace is dead." The door remained open, just long, enough for Emma to see inside. The CEO, Mr. Rowland, mid-40s, sharp suit, thinning hair, sat in front of a giant screen filled with red alerts and error codes. Everyone was scrambling, phones were ringing off the hook, someone was even crying in the corner. Emma had delivered to dozens of offices in her 2 years, but she had never seen anything like this. She tilted her head, reading the screen. Her eyes caught a string of code, just for a second, and her breath caught. Something about it felt familiar. She'd seen it before. Somewhere buried in old Reddit threads, deep code forums, dark web leaks she used to study for fun. Before she could stop herself, she murmured, "That looks like a variant of the K-Vault loop, but it's been modified." The receptionist stared at her. "Excuse me?" Emma stepped back. "Sorry, just ignore me." But someone had heard. One of the IT guys, a younger one, maybe in his late 20s, turned around. "What did you just say?" Emma swallowed. "I think it looks like a K-Vault variant. You're getting recursive lockouts through an internal echo loop, right? Someone's created a fake admin key and inserted it via your internal system, not externally." The young man raised an eyebrow. "That's specific." The receptionist scoffed. "She's the burger girl." Emma held up her hands. "Sorry, really, I should go." Just then, Mr. Rowland himself stepped out of the boardroom. "Who's talking about echo loops?" he asked, his voice sharp. The young IT guy pointed at Emma. Rowland raised a brow. You're with IT?" Emma gave a half smile. "No, I'm just delivering your lunch." A tense silence followed. Then he said something that made everyone laugh, even in a crisis. "Well, maybe the burger girl will solve what my $8 million IT department can't." Everyone chuckled, but Emma didn't. Instead, she adjusted her bag strap and hesitated. "If you really want, I could take a look. I used to study cybersecurity. Didn't finish my degree, but I still read the forums and watch exploit streams sometimes." There was an awkward pause. One of the senior engineers scoffed. "This is ridiculous. She's not even certified." Rowland sighed and ran a hand down his face. "You know what? Let her try. We've tried everything else." If nothing else, maybe she'll accidentally unplug something and reboot the system. More laughter. Emma followed the CEO into the room slowly, glancing at the blinking screens and the sea of error messages. The place was a battlefield. Every second meant another $1 million loss. And somehow, they were trusting her. One of the engineers tossed her a spare laptop with an open session. "Knock yourself out." Emma sat down, heart pounding. The room quieted as Emma placed her fingers on the keys. She wasn't nervous about the people watching her. She was nervous about what she might find. She remembered studying exploits like this back in her dorm room, digging into hacker forums, building test servers just to run simulations. She never thought it would matter. But now, staring at the code, in front of her it did. She leaned in, typing quickly. Within 30 seconds, she was in the log files. 2 minutes later, she'd isolated the fake admin credential. 4 minutes in, she traced its origin. It was embedded in an internal maintenance script. "There," she whispered. "Found it." A hush fell over the room. The young IT guy leaned over her shoulder. "How the hell did you spot that?" Emma didn't look up. They disguised it under a routine log sweep, classic misdirection. But the timing was off. That script ran 4 minutes earlier than usual. "Human error." Roland leaned forward. "Can you remove it?" Emma paused. "Maybe, but not without triggering a kill switch. It's designed to self-destruct and wipe everything if it detects external tampering." She took a breath. "But if I mimic the internal admin's keystroke patterns and patch the checksum in real time, I might be able to bypass the switch." The senior engineer muttered, "That's impossible. Even I wouldn't attempt that live." Emma smiled faintly. "Good thing I'm not a professional then." With a deep breath, she launched into the code. Her fingers danced, running tests, changing variables, writing patches on the fly. Every second counted. If she messed up even one line, the entire system could crash beyond repair. But something inside her clicked. She wasn't just delivering food. She was back in her element. The room watched in stunned silence. It was like watching a pianist play in a burning building, calm, focused, brilliant. 10 minutes later, Emma leaned back and wiped her brow. "Done," she whispered. The screen stopped flashing. The red warnings vanished. A moment later, every terminal in the room lit back up. Systems were back online, no data loss, no breach alerts. Silence, complete, stunned silence, filled the room. One of the IT heads dropped his coffee. Another just sat back, mouth open. Mr. Roland stared at the screen, then at Emma. "You just did what 30 people couldn't do. In 3 hours?" Emma stood slowly, heart still racing. "You should probably rotate all internal passwords and audit your access logs for the past month. Oh, and change your backup protocols. They're outdated." The room remained speechless. The receptionist outside peeked in. "Is it over?" Mr. Roland finally spoke. "It's over because of her." All eyes turned to Emma, who still stood with her delivery bag slung over her shoulder. Emma stood awkwardly in the center of the boardroom, unsure of what to do next. The CEO and the IT team were still frozen, blinking at their screens, almost waiting for some kind of error to return. But nothing came. The system was stable, the breach was gone, the security dashboard was clear. Mr. Roland broke the silence first, his voice hushed, but stunned. "Can someone verify this? Check the recovery logs." A few engineers rushed to their stations and began analyzing the logs line by line. One of them muttered, "No trace of the back door, no payload, no residual code." Another added, "She even patched the vulnerability. We couldn't even locate it earlier." Emma looked down at the untouched bag of food still in her hand and chuckled nervously. "I guess you still need your lunch." Mr. Roland, still wide-eyed, motioned toward the chair. "Forget the lunch. Sit. We need to talk." Emma hesitated, but slowly took a seat. The same team that had laughed moments ago now circled around her like students waiting for a masterclass. The young IT guy, the only one who had believed her at first, looked at her with open admiration. "How did you recognize that pattern so fast?" Emma shrugged. "I've always had a thing for code structures, used to break down malware for fun. It's like solving puzzles." One of the senior engineers leaned forward. "Wait, you're self-taught?" She smiled faintly. "Mostly. I studied computer science at MIT for 2 years. Then life happened. I had to drop out." The room went quiet again. Mr. Rowland spoke carefully. "You were at MIT?" She nodded. "Full scholarship. But my mom got diagnosed with cancer. Insurance didn't cover everything, so I left to take care of her. Been doing deliveries ever since." Her voice remained calm, but her eyes told a story of sacrifice and silent strength. There was a visible shift in the room's energy. The respect was no longer reluctant. It was real. Mr. Rowland leaned forward, folding his hands. "Do you know what kind of talent you just demonstrated? You identified a breach, reverse-engineered an exploit, and cleaned our systems in under 15 minutes. That's not just impressive. It's unheard of." Emma glanced around. "You guys probably would have figured it out eventually." One of the engineers shook his head. "No, we were going in circles. The attacker used a variation of a known exploit, but they camouflaged it in a way we've never seen. Your mind went straight to the source." Emma looked down, a bit embarrassed by the attention. "I just saw a pattern, that's all." The younger IT guy added, "You didn't just see it, you understood it instinctively. That's different." Another engineer nodded. "You think like a hacker, but you work like a guardian. That's rare." Mr. Rowland stood and slowly walked toward the window, deep in thought. After a moment, he turned back to Emma. "You don't belong on a scooter in the rain delivering burgers. You belong in a cybersecurity war room, leading the charge." Emma let out a dry laugh. "I appreciate that, but I've got bills, a stable schedule. Delivering food gives me flexibility to care for my mum." The CEO tilted his head. "What if I could offer you something better, something stable and meaningful?" The room turned to him. He continued, "Emma, how would you feel about joining TitanTech, not as a junior staff member, but as a lead consultant? Flexible hours, top-tier salary, and full medical coverage. For your family." The air seemed to freeze. Emma blinked. What?" He smiled gently. "You just saved this company from a $100 million disaster. I'd be a fool to let you walk out that door." Emma looked at the people around her. These were professionals, degrees on the walls, years of experience, and yet they were all looking at her like she was the expert. "Are you serious?" she whispered. Mr. Rowland nodded. "Dead serious. You've got instinct, skill, and the kind of real-world grit no textbook can teach." The senior engineer added, "We could use someone like you on the team. You think differently. We need that." Emma's hands trembled slightly as she placed the food bag on the table. "I don't even have a resume anymore, or certifications." Mr. Rowland replied without hesitation, "We're not hiring your resume, we're hiring you." The room was still. Emma didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run out the door. She'd come to deliver food, in the pouring rain, on a broken scooter, and now she was being offered a life-changing job. She finally found her voice. I don't know what to say. My life isn't exactly built for boardrooms and suits." Mr. Rowland chuckled. "That's fine. We're not hiring you to sit in meetings. We're hiring you to protect us, to think like a hacker, to do what you just did, spot the cracks before they break us." Emma looked down at her, calloused hands, the ones used to gripping handlebars and brown paper bags. "Okay," she whispered, "but only if I can still wear my hoodie." Laughter broke out across the room. A moment of lightness after a day filled with chaos. Mr. Rowland nodded. "Deal." And just like that, the offer was real. Emma Sullivan, the 25-year-old delivery girl who fixed a multi-billion-dollar company's security breach during a lunch run, was no longer just a face in the crowd. She was a part of something bigger now. As the boardroom began to settle, engineers returning to their stations and systems humming back to life, the younger IT guy walked Emma to the elevator. "You know," he said, pressing the button, "you really scared the hell out of everyone in there." Emma laughed. "Good. Maybe next time they'll think twice before judging someone by their delivery uniform." He smiled. "You ever need help setting up your new workstation? Or just want a teammate to grab coffee with? I'm around." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Are you hitting on me already?" He flushed. "No, I mean, maybe. You're cool." The elevator dinged. Emma stepped in and gave him a wink. "Noted." The doors closed, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to smile, not the tired smile she wore for customers, but a real one. She was still Emma, but everything in her world had just changed. Back in the boardroom, Mr. Rowland opened his laptop and began typing up a report. He included every detail of what happened, and made one thing crystal clear: their company had been saved not by an expensive tool, nor by an executive, but by someone the world had overlooked. A delivery girl with a sharp mind, a kind heart, and the courage to speak up. That report would later be shared with the board of directors, the press, and even cybersecurity forums. It would spark conversations about talent, bias, and hidden genius, but for now it was just a note of gratitude. Downstairs, Emma stepped out of the elevator and onto the city sidewalk. The rain had stopped. The sun peeked through the clouds. Her scooter still sat by the curb, but something in her posture had changed. A quiet confidence, a new sense of direction. She wasn't just riding to survive anymore. She was riding toward something. 2 weeks later, Emma stood in the same TitanTech lobby, but this time she wasn't holding burgers. She wore jeans, a hoodie, and a lanyard with her name and title. Cybersecurity Consultant, Emma Sullivan. The transformation wasn't flashy, but it was powerful. As she scanned in with her new ID, the same receptionist who had once dismissed her now offered a beaming smile. "Welcome back, Miss Sullivan." Emma smiled back politely, but her mind was already racing. She had been working remotely since the incident, but today was her first official on-site meeting with the executive security team. Her desk was ready, her systems were active, and her title was real. She was no longer the girl people ignored. In fact, the company had quietly issued a press release about her hiring, calling her a rare talent who proved skill can come from the most unexpected places. She hadn't seen it coming, but now she was ready to own it. Upstairs, the boardroom had changed too. There was no panic this time, just a focused energy. Emma was greeted with nods, even applause. She didn't care for the spotlight, but she knew what her presence symbolized. Mr. Rowland motioned for her to sit beside him. "We've implemented all your recommendations. Password rotations, firewall upgrades, and internal audit schedules. But we've also had something unusual happen." He tapped a button and a screen lit up showing encrypted messages. The original hacker tried to break in again, twice, failed both times, but on the second attempt they left a message addressed to you. Emma narrowed her eyes. The screen showed, "Nice counterstrike. Didn't expect that. Who are you? Hoodie girl?" A slow grin spread across her face. "So now I have a fan," she said lightly, but her mind was already moving faster. This wasn't over. Whoever had tried to cripple TitanTech hadn't given up, and now they knew she was in the game. Mr. Rowland leaned in. "Should we be worried?" Emma shook her head. "Not worried, but prepared." She pulled her laptop from her backpack and plugged into the company's secure terminal. "Let's set a trap. A decoy server mirroring our main systems, but rigged to track every keystroke. They want to play? Let's play." The senior IT team exchanged glances. This was unconventional, risky, but after what Emma had done, they trusted her. The next few hours flew by as she constructed a digital honeypot, so convincing even their own test tools flagged it as real. "Now," she said, tapping a final command, "we wait." For the first time, Emma wasn't just responding to an attack. She was taking control. That night, as the office emptied, she stayed behind, watching packet traces and logs scroll like rivers. Around 2 a.m., the trap was triggered. Someone had taken the bait. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. It was game time again. This time, the hacker was aggressive. Emma could feel the intensity behind the keystrokes. Whoever it was, they were. Fast and bold. But she was faster. Every time they probed deeper, she rerouted them, fed them misinformation, traced IP shadows. It was a duel across oceans of code, silent and invisible, yet electric. After nearly 90 minutes, she isolated the attacker's real location, somewhere in Bucharest. More importantly, she traced their unique signature. "Got you," she whispered. But she didn't just lock them out. She sent a message back. "Next. Time, try ordering a burger. You might learn something." The intruder disconnected immediately. The office was dead silent, but Emma leaned back in her chair, heart pounding with victory. This wasn't just defense. This was warcraft. And she was good at it. Not because she had a degree, but because her mind saw patterns where others saw chaos. She wasn't a traditional techie. She was something entirely new, instinctual, raw, and fearless. The next morning, news of the counter-hack spread throughout TitanTech like wildfire. People whispered in elevators. Security staff shared stories in the break room. Some even jokingly referred to Emma as the cyber ninja. She hated the attention, but she understood the importance of representation. Her story wasn't just hers anymore. It was a symbol. HR quietly reached out, asking if she'd be open to being featured in TitanTech's diversity and innovation campaign. Emma agreed under one condition. She wanted the focus to be on untapped talent, people who get overlooked because they don't fit a mold. "There are more out there like me," she told them. "Geniuses driving ride shares, cleaning, buildings, doing deliveries. We just never get invited to the table." That quote ended up as the headline of the campaign. Within days, her story went viral across LinkedIn, Twitter, even tech blogs. Overnight, Emma Sullivan became the face of what raw brilliance looked like in unexpected packaging. A week later, Emma received a message on her LinkedIn from someone she never expected, a professor from MIT. He'd taught her in sophomore year and remembered her fondly. "Emma," he wrote, "I saw what you did. If you're ever ready to finish your degree, we'd be honored to welcome you back. Full scholarship reinstated." Emma stared at the message for a long time. For 2 years, she had buried that part of her life, convinced she'd lost it forever. And now it was back, not because someone handed it to her, but because she'd fought for it, line by line. She called her mom that evening and read the message aloud. Her mom cried, her voice breaking with pride. "I always knew you were meant for more," she whispered. Emma looked out the window, the skyline glittering like code. "Me too," she said quietly. "I just forgot for a while." A month later, Emma stood in front of a small class of high school girls at a local outreach event. TitanTech had started sponsoring underrepresented youth programs, and Emma had volunteered to share her story. She stood in her hoodie and jeans. No slides, no fancy language, just her truth. "You don't have to look like a tech CEO to be smarter than one," she said. "You just need curiosity, persistence, and the courage to speak up, even if people laugh at you." One girl raised her hand and asked, "Were you scared?" Emma smiled. "Every day, but I've learned something. Fear usually means you're about to do something important." Afterward, girls surrounded her, asking about code, college, careers. Emma gave out her email to all of them. "Reach out any time," she said, "and remember, you don't have to ask permission to be brilliant." That night, she went home feeling something she hadn't felt in a long time, fulfilled. Back in the TitanTech war room, a new threat alert popped up. But this time, it wasn't fear that filled the air. It was readiness. Emma now led the company's rapid response cyber team, a small hand-picked crew she helped assemble, some with degrees, some without, but all brilliant in their own way. As alerts blinked on the screen, Emma looked around and said, "All right, team, let's dance." The digital battlefield had become her stage. Her delivery scooter had been replaced by a sleek e-bike TitanTech, gifted her for emergencies. Her hoodie now carried the company logo, and her once overlooked name was now spoken in boardrooms as a legend. She hadn't just solved a hack. She had rewritten the rules on what genius looks like, and as she leaned into the glow of her monitors, ready for whatever came next, one thing was certain. Emma Sullivan had delivered more than food that day. She had delivered a legacy.